What's up, my geeks? Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine, Think Magazine, Put Into Geek, and today I'm basically low-key, so we don't have the lights on. Well, kind of have the lights on so you can see what's going on here, but everything's kind of low-key because what I'm going to do is I'm been doing a lot of coding, and my PHP skills have been very, very rusty over the years. If you remember back in 2009, 2010, I started a website called Summer of Podcasts, which basically was a contest where podcasters would give out codes, and then the listeners would go to this page, enter those codes, and that would create an entry for the contest. We ran it for a couple of years, and we gave out a lot of great prizes, but at the core was all this code that I wrote that basically would collect the people's names, if they put in a valid code or not, if they have the email address, if they tried to put the email address and the same code in twice, it wouldn't accept it. All those little bells and whistles. And so since then, coding has not really been my primary goal in life, so I just kind of been very rusty in it. I have created some WordPress plugins in the past, and which are probably still out there now, but I wanted to have a WordPress plugin that did something that I couldn't find out on the web. And so I decided to turn to ChatGPT. This is not my first WordPress plugin that I've created through ChatGPT. I created one over on Geekazine that basically takes all my YouTube shorts and randomizes which one will show up on the web page. That was a pretty simple one. I created another one for my Day in Tech History site, refreshed the day, and gave the most recent day as the primary post. And then, of course, another plugin that would show you 10 days before and 10 days after. So that website has a few different plugins that was a collaboration between me and ChatGPT. And now I am writing another plugin. This basically is a plugin that inserts a block into a certain area into the post. And the reason why is Geekazine has kind of closing up a little bit. If you want to read an article, you're going to have to start to subscribe. It's not a paid subscription. It's just, hey, put your name on the email list, and then you'll get access to the articles. And we're talking articles that are older, so bots don't come in and start scraping off images or anything like that. So that's where I am right now with this plugin. So what I did was I created a prompt in which I had ChatGPT create the initial plugin. And then I went back and forth with ChatGPT. Sometimes I just took it completely out and then rewrote some code and then put it back in to work from there. And I found a lot of things that you have to be very aware of when you're doing this process, because ChatGPT, although it does a great job in doing some coding, it also fails in a lot of areas. And the biggest thing that it fails in is memory. So if you say, remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you say add 9, and you say read back to me what you have, all of a sudden it could read back and go 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. What happened to 3 and 6? It just doesn't have that memory to go back and look at the old stuff to create the new stuff, and it's always constantly moving forward. It's a big crux because you're coding for something and it's changing it as it goes, and that first version of that code might not be the 15th version of that code. So the first thing I always suggest is backup. Backup. You're backing up your WordPress site. You're going to your sandbox sites to begin with, and that's what we're on. We're on a sandbox website. But you're also backing up the website. You're also backing up the plugin, and you're also getting ready for it to just not to work. So I'm going to show you what I have set up, how my process in doing this, and then of course we'll go through some of the code, because I have the bulk insert block plugin, but I wanted to add a couple new features to it. So with this, I'm going to show you everything that I have set up here as some ideas as to what you might want to do when you get ready to do something like build a plugin for your WordPress site. All right, so let's go to the page here. So First of all, we have ChatGPT, and I've got the plugin all set in here. I've already asked the question, can you add these two new features to the plugin? So we're using the ChatGPT 04 Mini High. And by the way, we are still on ChatGPT 4 at the time of this recording. ChatGPT 5 is going to be rolling out shortly. I'm guessing we're going to have pretty much the same structures, same visuals here. So, but of course, if that changes, then we'll make updates as we go along. So anyway, we've got the plugin RN here. I posted the plugin and I said, hey, make these two changes to it. That's all I want to do. So we got all this code here in which I have over on my plugin website. I've opened up 3 pages. First page I've opened up is the edit file plugin editor. Now this area could actually be nailed down by your WordPress host. So some of you might choose plugin file editor and then you might see you don't have the ability to edit files because that's a security protocol. And sometimes if you go to your host, they might be able to open it up for you, but you'll probably have to ask specifically. If you got a sandbox at your house, this is not going to be a big deal. So this is the first page that I have open. Edit plugins to the block in question. Second, I have my installed plugins page set up in where I am going to be deactivating and activating this plugin. Next, I have the bulk insert block page. So unless I change this, like go from inside of post to its own container area, then it'll be fine if you deactivate it and reactivate it. Just remember to refresh the page before you start doing anything. The final thing that I'll have open is an FTP portal to the WordPress website. If something fails miserably, because it can, you go to activate that, but comes back with a critical error, which is why you never want to do it on a live website. Then I can go into FTP and then rename the plugin to old. It disables the plugin. Then I'll go back in, I'll change the name back, and then I'll go into the file editor and fix the problem. Then I'll reactivate the block. With that said and done, those are the files that I have open. FTP, series of web pages, and then a backend to my WordPress. Before we get started, I do want to thank my Patreons over at patreon.com/Geekazine. If you'd like to be a Patreon, all you have to do is go over there and sign up, and I appreciate that. It helps keeps the lights on. You can also send me a tip over at venmo.com/Geekazine or through PayPal.me/Jeff Powers. And then, of course, we have the t-shirt merch over at Amazon.com/shop/Geekazine. I like geek butts and I cannot lie. The Geek AI t-shirt, the logo brand t-shirt, and a lot more. So you can check that over there. Amazon.com/shop/Geekazine. Scroll down to where it says merch. I refreshed this. I started from scratch because once again, always have those backups. We backed up the WordPress website. We made sure that we are on the version that I want to add something to, and we're ready to go. So the last thing I want to do is I want to make sure that ChatGPT is in the 04 Mini. So we've got that ready. I've put in the code from the plugin. I said basically this: I want to add 2 things to this WordPress plugin. 1, screen options with a setting to change the number of items per page. 2, have choose block, remember the last block that it runs. Basically, if I put in core paragraph, then it's when I run it and it comes back to the front page, if I have more to go like the next page, it's going to remember that core paragraph was the one that I chose. It's just those little small things that I really like that help me a lot. So we've got this set up. We're ready to go. We're going to hit the plus button. It's going to think, and then it's going to go into code mode in a second here as it starts to create code. A few seconds later. In this instance, basically what it said is these are all the changes that you would want to have if I wanted to actually end up putting it in the code myself. So sometimes that'll happen. You'll just say, can you put it in the code for me? And now it's going to update the plugin code, which should go to the coding page. And for some reason, it's taking its sweet time. A hell of a lot longer later. For some reason, it took a little bit longer than normal. I have a feeling that it had a connection issue that it was trying to resolve, and that happens every now and then as well. but it's rewriting the code and putting in those features that I asked it to put in. Hopefully it's not rewriting the code completely. All it needs is two things to add to it. So we'll see what happens here. So now I believe that it's done. We'll scroll all the way down here and we can see all the information that I had here. And it says it's good to go. Go ahead and throw it in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this code. We're then going to go over to the plugins and we're going to deactivate the plugin. From here, we go over to the page. And of course, you want to make sure that you're on your plugin and you say select. If the plugin is active, you'll see a line here that's basically a warning saying, hey, this is an active code. You might want to do something about that. But since it's disabled right now, we don't get that error message. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a Control-A, Control-V for all and paste, Command-A, Command-V if you're on a Mac. And then, of course, we're going to update the file, which will then say, hey, file edited successfully. Go back over to plugins, and one of two things is going to happen. It's going to either be successful or we're going to come back with an error. Sometimes ChatGPT forgets a period or a semicolon or something like that. If that's the case, then we go into our logs and we check out the log to see where the problem is. And then we can put that information from the log into ChatGPT and then it can fix the problem from there. In this case, no problems, the plugin activated. So let's go over to the block plugin. And there we go. And now what was really interesting is it changed it to 5. We have the screen options, and then, of course, we'll do the paywall, which is the one that I want. We'll go to screen options and see it as 5. So let's change that to 10 to see if that fixed the problem. And it didn't. What it did was it's saying the screen options is 5. So I have to figure out a new way to reword ChatGPT so it actually does this, because what I think is happening is there is a point of code where it says the screen options, it's always going to be 25, 5, whatever. But the code that says change 25 to 5 is not getting back to that. Now I can go back to the code. I can go back to ChatGPT and say, hey, this is not working right. So we'll go back over here. It says right here, class bulk insert block plugin, and then it says const per name per page equals 25. Now, what was really interesting is we had 5 instead of 25. So there's probably another line of code in here somewhere that would be different. So it basically, if this is the first time you run it, it should just show up with 25 by default. But we need to make it so we can change that from 5 to 10 to 20 to 25. I said in the screen options, number per page, if I change the number, the list does not increase or decrease. So hopefully it understood that and made that change. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy that code. We're going to go over to plugins. We're going to deactivate the insert block. We're going to go into our editor. We're going to paste in the new code. We're going to update the file. It says that it's successful. We'll go ahead and reactivate the code. It says that it's activated. We're going to refresh the page. We're going to go down to screen options. It says 5. We see 5. Let's change it to 10. The default is 25, but I have a feeling since I've changed it to 5 before that it's staying at 5. We're going to hit apply. And we're still at 5. So we're still got an issue that the items per page is not changing the items in the list. So I need to figure out a new way to explain it, because what I see right here is that the const per page, that's the 25. So if the first time you loaded it up, it's going to be 25. But there's some line of code in here that is keeping it at 5. And I'm not sure where that is. And I could probably do some reading to try and figure out where it is. But I'm just going to tell ChatGPT, in the screen options, the number is 5 and the lines are 5. But if I change to 10, the list does not change. And I'm trying different ways to say this because, once again, it's like the old elephant game or the telephone game, whatever you remember as a child, where you go down the line, you say something to somebody else, and then they have to repeat it to the next person and to see how the initial information got changed by the end of this. So, all right, so let's go ahead and copy this text. Let's go to the deactivate, and then let's come over here and paste in the new file. We'll update that. We'll come back over here. We'll activate it. And now we've got a critical error. This is why you need your FTP so you can disable the plugin. This is also where I will go back into my logs and tell them, hey, there's a critical error in here. So I'm going to do that right now. But of course, you're not going to see that part. Now it should be back up and running. And then I took the error log and I put it into ChatGPT, and now it's making the edits, and it said that there were some stray backslashes in here. So we'll go ahead and copy this. Since it's already been deactivated, we don't have to worry about that. So we'll go into the code and we will fix the code. We'll update the file and then we'll reactivate. So you can see how this can be a little bit of a frustrating back and forth, because once again, it's all about that memory. How ChatGPT remembers what it did versus what it's doing right now. And that's the same thing with a lot of things. If you're trying to make an image, for example, it doesn't remember the image that it made. It can only make the next image unless it has familiarities to it. And that's what AI is trying to work on right now, is those familiarities, those points that it can reference. That doesn't have to be code, because like if I wanted to create an image, I basically would say a bald man with this longer salty beard and glasses. And that could mean a whole bunch of things to an AI generating system. Now it feels like it fixed the problem, but look at this. It did not finish the code. It only got to 183. This might be a point for me to kind of just scrap this one, delete this chat, and then start over again. But we're going to go forward and see what happens. I know I'm crazy that way. I have a feeling it does go back to the reference at the beginning. So there is a little bit of memory, but not much. And if you keep saying, change this, change this, change this, it's definitely going to get confused. And especially if it's rewriting code, to rewrite it back. But nonetheless, this now has given me the full code. So that looks right. I've done this a few times, so I know exactly what it looks like at the end. We'll copy that. We'll go in. This is not active because we had the fatal error. And then we'll do that, and we'll paste, and we'll update the file. We'll refresh the page just for kicks and giggles, and we'll activate it. And it says it triggered another fatal error. So let's go ahead and do the log again. We're going to watch this line right here, this 95. Well, it said that it changed it, but I didn't see the change. Of course, that's how computers work sometimes. So let's go ahead and copy this. We'll save this. Come back in here. We'll just hit activate, and we've got another fatal error. Interesting. Yeah, it did not change line 95 at all, even though it said that it changed line 95. Now it looks like it's making changes. So let's go down to that line 95 so we can see it. And look at that. We are probably at a point where this is not going to resolve itself. So I can do one of two things. I can go back to that first point where I started at, and I can run it all again. The second thing, which I think I'm going to do, is I'm going to take out that line that says I want the line items to go so I can change it from 25 to 10, because that seems to be the problem. And then I'm going to run it so it just does that second part, remembering the block, because it's easy to remember that stuff. And that way I can at least move it forward with that. And it's something I highly recommend. If you've got like a whole bunch of changes and you put a whole bunch of changes into ChatGPT saying I want this and this and this and this and this and this fixed, it can get really confused. But if you put the code in and say, can you change this one thing? The easiest thing to do, it does that. And then you can go back and say, hey, now I want this changed. Start a new chat and say, hey, now change this. And then that way, if you start running into a big problem, at least you've got some of the changes in there. And then you can kind of put this onto the side and kind of figure out what's going on. What am I not telling ChatGPT to make it work right or whatnot? Or maybe ChatGPT is just going through some issues right now. Too many people on the system, connection issues, whatever. So it breaks off on a specific line on code. This is not an easy process sometimes, but from the fact that I don't have to sit there and remember how to write the code, and create the sections and put the code in for each section and then go back if something's not going right. This is a lot easier to build this code. Ultimately, it's all about backup, backup, backup. Whether you're backing up your database, whether you're taking the code where it is that's working and stable and kind of saving that somewhere so you can go back to at least to that part of the code, or starting from scratch and bringing it all in. Just having all that information, because if I start using this code and then somebody comes back and says, hey, wait a minute, this is not working, but it was working before, then I can go back to the original one and kind of decipher, probably put them line for line next to each other to see what ChatGPT changed and maybe find the problem myself, fix the problem myself, so we can go forward. It does make the coding a lot easier. That's for sure, but it's not without issues itself. Just like with any regular coder accidentally forgetting a slash or a semicolon inside there, and then the whole program's not working again. So it's a give and take. I really hope that ChatGPT 5 takes it to the next level. I'd really love to see them have some sort of sandbox. So it's actually activating the plugin in a very crude WordPress. So if it sees that it doesn't work there, it can get the log information, it can make the fix, and then give you code that when you put it in, it doesn't automatically fail. Then again, there's third-party programs out there that you can pay to use to get that done. And then, of course, you also have coders that you can hire to fix up the codes like this, because there might be other issues in this code. You definitely want to test out your codes and make sure that it's going to be compliant with WordPress. You don't want to create any backdoors for hackers to get in. Right now, for what I needed to do, it's doing a perfect job. I just want to do a couple little tweaks to make it easier for me to go to the next page and run the next batch and run the next batch so I can get it all done. What do you guys think? Have you used ChatGPT to create plugins or code anything? Whether it be Python coding, whether it be PHP coding, whether it be C++. Let me know down in the comments below over at Geekazine.com, YouTube.com/Geekazine, where you can like, subscribe, and of course hit that bell notification so you know when the next video comes out. Until next time, you guys geek out and code on with ChatGPT and AI.